Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little lamb.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream. Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
Just want to express my appreciation for what the chairman decided to do. I'm sure it was a very difficult decision for him, but as he mentioned, I think it is in the best interest of the investigation. It will, I think, allow us to have a fresh start moving forward.
It is clear that this process would be a distraction to the House Intelligence Committee's investigation into Russian interference in our election. So Chairman Nunes has offered to step aside as the lead Republican on this particular probe, and I fully support his decision. Representative Mike Conaway, a senior member of the committee, will now lead this investigation with respect to the House Republicans on the Intelligence Committee. I'm confident that he will oversee a professional investigation into Russia's actions and follow the facts wherever they may lead.
Oh, I feel better, don't you? Nunes has stepped down from the Russia probe. Ooh. And now it's in the reason why he's under investigation too. Oh my God. Is there going to be anybody in the Trump administration that isn't under investigation by anybody at any time? I say no. And isn't this the reason why you people told me that you would not vote for Hillary Clinton because you didn't want Congress all stopped up with investigations? Good choice, everybody. How'd that work out for you? Yeah. So now we're going to have this guy, because Nunes is under investigation by the House Ethics Committee. Remember, it's still the House Ethics Committee, the biggest oxymoron ever. You know who's on there? Well, let's see. The guy who's in charge now, his name is Conaway. Conaway used to be the chairman of the House Ethics Committee. Now it's a guy named Trey Gowdy. Anybody? Trey Gowdy, the hairdo guy, the guy that looks like he came from a sci-fi flick. Whoever does his hair really needs to surrender their license, and we really need to probe that. Like, what were you thinking when you fashioned him into some Gary Oldman character? It's like just the weirdest hairdo ever. But okay, so Mike Conaway takes over as Nunes is investigated by the House Ethics Committee, where Trey Gowdy also sits. Now, Trey is on intelligence. I know. How do you say? Trey Gowdy's on intelligence, and he's also on the ethics committee. Conaway used to be the chairman of the ethics committee. Now he's only on the intelligence committee. And this all happened thanks to, some letters that were written by Democracy 21 and the Center for Research and Ethics in Washington, poor kids, also known as CREW. They wrote letters, and they said, we think that when Devin Nunes ran out to the press after he was given classified information by the White House, ran out to the press, gave out that information, and then ran back to the White House pretending that he was actually bringing them something instead of them giving him something, that he exposed and told classified information. Now, that is what Susan Rice has been saying on all her appearances, because, we had the freaking Farkas fracas on Friday, and that didn't stick to the wall. Then they started, throwing Rice at the wall to see if Rice would stick. And, Susan Rice, the former national security advisor, said she was doing her job. And if, somebody was out there exposing what intelligence she was handling while she was handling classified information, and they told it to the press, then that person has violated the ethics of, classified material. And so now Nunes is under investigation. So now we're in the hands of this guy. Okay, I pulled this up for you. This is the actual Comey hearing from, almost 3 weeks ago. I miss my boyfriend. I miss him. I'm in a long distance relationship. I'm here in Florida. He's there in Washington. And now all of a sudden he disappears into the ether, just buries his head in work. Never, ever, ever picks up a phone. Just working all the time. But anyway, here was the Comey, the Intelligence Committee in the House, who are dead to me, questioning Comey. This is the new chairman. This will be the guy that's in charge of the Russia probe. I just want to give you a moment to absorb this, because I've played a few, but I think it's so much more fun to play things that have already happened after you have new information. Then you go back and you look at, why do they have these hearings in the first place? Well, it's to get people on the record. So that's the beauty of it. Same thing with the presidential debates. I mean, it's supposed to be like informative, but today we're going to listen to some old clips of the third presidential debate between Hillary and Trump, discussing specifically Syria, because Trump is going to war. Just so you know, we're going to war. We are going to bomb Syria. There is just no question in my mind. How we do it is a different thing. We can discuss that too. And of course, as you know, today, the Senate has gone nuclear. So now the Senate is dead to us now. As well, because it's experiencing nuclear winter. And it did it all for one right-wing justice. They blew up the entire 200 years of the Senate for Neil Gorsuch. So he must be very, very important to them to do this. But anyway, here's the guy who's now going to conduct the House Intelligence Committee investigation into Russian hacking and whether or not there was collusion/cooperation between the Trump campaign and the Russians. Which all play into the Syria situation, okay? I think you know that. So this is Representative Mike Conaway. Now, he represents my old, I used to live here. I used to live in Odessa, Texas. He represents Odessa. He also represents the rich side. You know, Odessa Midland in Texas, West Texas, is a... It's like Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's like, Minneapolis, St. Paul. It's one of those dueling cities. And Odessa is where the people who work on the oil rigs live. And Midland is where the people who own the oil rigs live. And he's the congressman for both. And also beautiful Rolling Hill, San Angelo, Texas, where I used to work as a repo man. Oh, yeah. I used to repo cars. I swear to God. All right. So here he is. Just pay attention, because this is a man who does not want to accept reality, and now he's going to be in charge of the investigation in the House.
I don't know for sure, but I think that was a fairly easy judgment
Look
for the
cute.
community. Putin hated Secretary Clinton so much that the flip side of that coin was he had a clear preference for the person running against the person he hated so much.
Yeah, and that might work on Saturday afternoon when my wife's Red Raiders are playing the Texas Longhorns. She really likes the Red Raiders, but all the rest of the time, I mean, the logic is that because he really didn't like the candidate Clinton, that he automatically liked Trump. That assessment's based on what?
Well, it's based on more than that, but part of it is, and we're not going to get into the details of it here, but part of it is the logic. Whoever the Red Raiders are playing, you want the Red Raiders to win. By definition, you want their opponent to lose.
To him like a
I know,
high school
but this says
kid.
that you wanted both of them. You wanted her to lose, and wanted him to win. Is that
right? They're inseparable. Right? It's a two-person
right
event.
I got you. So I'm just wondering when you decided you wanted him to win.
Well, logically, when he wanted her to lose, he wanted her.
No. I'm not talking about him. I'm Putin. I got that. But the question is, when in this clear preference? Well, then let me finish up then. So you go through that sentence about the clear preference for Donald Trump.
Oh my God, he really can't follow basic logic. So he's in charge. Yay, I feel better. I swear to God, he couldn't follow basic logic. Comey was testifying to the fact that in December of 2016, it became apparent to the intelligence community that that Putin had a clear preference, and that it was not just that he wanted Hillary Clinton to lose, but that he picked Donald Trump as his candidate and was supporting him and encouraging everything to happen in order to help Donald Trump to win. And Mike Conaway can't figure this out. So he's like, well, my wife watches football, and, she likes the Red Raiders, and, she wants them. It doesn't mean that she wants the other team to lose. And Comey says, well, that's an inseparable thought, isn't it? If she wants the Red Raiders to win, then she wants the other team to lose. Doesn't that make sense to you? You go, well, I get that. But when did you think? And he goes, and what is it based on? And he said a lot of stuff. And he had also previously testified, and this is what makes it even more painful, that Conaway is in charge, because Conaway can't hold any logical thought in his head. It pains me because Comey had already testified to the fact that this started during the primary. Trump and Russia's preference for Trump started in the primaries. And he tells this to Conaway, too. He goes, no, it started in the summer. You don't understand. It's based on a whole lot of stuff. And it all started in the summer. And he's got to talk to him like he's a grade schooler. You know, I mean, it's just like so freaking painful. So we may have gotten rid of Nunes, and we may actually get rid of Nunes if the ethics committee upon which Trey Gowdy sits can find an ethical violation. Now, it's interesting because there is an ethical violation. I'm just going to close this because it's C-SPAN, and if I don't, it will mysteriously play all of a sudden. But here's Susan Rice. She was on MSNBC, and she's trying to explain what her job is, and she's also trying to explain that she's not the leaker. Okay, Nunes is the leaker. And that's why Nunes is coming under investigation by the House Ethics Committee, but the House Ethics Committee, as all House committees, are ruled by Republicans. So, you know, getting a good result out of anything in the House is going to be tricky. But here, just so you know.
I was a national security advisor. My job is to protect the American people and the security of our country. That's the same as the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense, the CIA director. And every morning, to enable us to do that, we receive from the intelligence community a compilation of intelligence reports that the IC, the intelligence community, has selected for us on a daily basis to give us the best information as to what's going on around the world. I received those reports, as did each of those other officials, and there were occasions when I would receive a report in which a U.S. person was referred to, name not provided, just U.S. person. And sometimes in that context, in order to understand the importance of the report and assess its significance, it was necessary to find out or request the information as to who that U.S. official was. Let me give you just a hypothetical example. This is completely made up, but let's say there was a conversation between two foreigners about a conversation they were having with an American who was proposing to sell to them high-tech bomb-making equipment. Now, if that came to me as national security advisor, it would matter enormously. Is this some kook sitting in his living room communicating via the internet offering to sell something he doesn't have? Or is this a serious person or company or entity with the ability to provide that technology perhaps to an adversary? That would be an example of a case where knowing who the U.S. person was necessary to assess the information. So when that occurred, what I would do, or what any official would do, is to ask their briefer whether the intelligence community would go through its process, and there's a long-standing established process, to decide whether that information as to who the identity of the U.S. person was could be provided to me. So they'd take that question back, they'd put it through a process, and the intelligence community made the determination as to whether or not the identity of that American individual could be provided to me. That is what I and Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, CIA Director, DNI would do when we receive that information. We only do it to protect the American people, to do our jobs in the national security realm. That's the only reason.
Within that process and within the context of the Trump campaign, the Trump transition, did you seek the names of people involved in, to unmask the names of people involved in the Trump transition, the Trump campaign, people surrounding the president-elect?
Let me be clear.
In order to spy on them, in order to expose them?
Absolutely not for any political purposes, to spy, expose, anything. But
did you leak the name of Mike Flynn?
I leaked nothing to nobody, and never have and never would. But let me explain this. First of all, Andrea, to talk about the contents of a classified report, to talk about the individuals on the foreign side who were the targets of the report itself, or any Americans who may have been collected upon incidentally, is to disclose classified information. I'm not going to do that. And those people who are putting these stories out are doing just that. See? I can't describe any particular report I saw. And by the way, I have no idea what reports are allegedly are being described by those who are putting out this story.
And that those who are putting out the story are Devin Nunes. And so she's saying if Devin Nunes is putting out stories about her and about the intelligence documents, even naming a foreign target, let alone an American target, or he's disclosing information that he has about how she conducted her job and what documents she saw without going through this clear, long-ass process of asking the briefer, can I have the names of the target and the American citizen who may have been speaking to the target? May I have that? Going through this long process and then keeping it to yourself inside the intelligence community and not going to the press with it. Anybody who did that is doing what they're accusing her of doing, which she didn't do. Do you follow? I mean, so that's why Nunes is under investigation. Nunes has released classified information that was given to him by the White House, by some lawyers at the White House, counsel to the president at the White House. And I'm very sure, and the Ethics Committee will probably find how they will, spin it. I don't know. That Devin Nunes did not go through the process of getting permission from the IC, the intelligence community, to release anything about Susan Rice or any of the names. Go to RandiRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.